No, it's in it. It's out there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's 2:02.
Sorry.
So we will call the Village of Northport December 4th work session meeting to order. And roll call. We have trustees Harper, Cavendish, Cook, Ager, and President McCann present in person. Trustees Buell and Dean are attending via Zoom. And staff, we've got manager, clerk, and harbor masters here in the room, at least.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Let's see, item 2 on the agenda is approval of the agenda amendments or addition. Do any council members have any amendments or additions? Hearing none, all in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the approval agenda is approved. Item 3 is public comment. Any member of the public can make a comment for up to 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. And if you want to unmute, I can recognize you. All right, yeah, at this point, seeing no takers, we'll move on from public comment. There is a second public comment later in the meeting if you wish to choose. Do that. Liaison reports. First up, waterfront.
Nothing from me, but I don't feel there's anything on.
Okay, infrastructure.
I met with Jared and they're working on the water main project, getting pricing for that to see how they can move forward, the one that's on between 5th and 6th. Then also working on getting numbers and information together for the water leak, so to try and have those projects ready for the spring. And then a lot of work on the culvert project, so that the Rose culvert that we got the grant for, getting all that information together.
Great. Anything for Laura on infrastructure? Planning commission?
Planning commission, I don't think we've had a meeting since the last, this is something in the rules and procedures I was gonna bring up, but it's the same as before. We're gonna be working on next week, Wednesday, zoning stuff still, and then the draft of the master plan that we have that isn't totally finished, but very close, so.
NLTUA, we have a meeting on Tuesday. We'll be going over the draft budget. I'll bring it back to the council for a look over. And the clerk, Joni, notified me that for those that had financed the assessment fees through the tax bill, this will be the last billing. So next year, when you get your winter tax bill, there will be a $500 assessment on there for the sewer.
Been 20 years.
And that's it for me. Discussion items 5, we've got Marina, there's a list of things in there. The manager's summary touched on a lot of them. And I guess we start with the 2026 rates. Anybody have any input on that? Or anything from Bill or Jared regarding the rates?
Yeah, well, I think that since the DNR went up 10%, we should just remain in the same category. In the same column. That's a good enough height for me.
That was my recommendation also. I was going to recommend a bump to the next, but the DNR adjusted, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been in between. Or are you now talking about seasonal, right?
Both.
Both transient and
We've been in between, correct? With
The seasonal has been in between two rates. It's been in between rate 2 and 3, because we've been at $100 a foot.
Mm-hmm.
We got special permission to do that.
You mean rate A and B? Or seasonal, okay, yeah, 1 and 2, okay.
For seasonals, we've been
I don't know why they do it that way.
Maybe see what the difference between
Yeah,
what you're
yeah.
talking about.
So,
So
Yeah.
for seasonal rates, we've been at $100 a foot, that's between rates 2 and 3, right? And so now the DNR adjusted the seasonal rates going forward. So now at $100 a foot, we would be between rates 3 and 4. We would actually be dropping lower. So that's why I'm recommending it. It's been a couple of years since we've had a rate increase. We need to at least go to rate 3 at $103 a foot. I'm suggesting we consider something a little bit larger than that.
Yeah, I agree with Will and Bill that the rate 2 makes, or yes, 2.
Going to rate 2?
Yeah, the $112.
What are you looking at? I can't find it. I'm looking at,
26 proposed, it'll be the last spreadsheet.
Rather than kind of going between 2, just
I think it would be
pick
better
one.
to get
Yeah,
on a rate schedule.
Well,
Yeah.
although $100 a foot is easy to do math, but for seasonal, you only have to do the math once. So it's not, for traditional or
Sure.
transit. I just don't know, transient. I don't think I'm gonna vote because I think I have a conflict of interest, because I would like to see, I'd like to see it lower, but, yeah, that's because I have basically ×3 of whatever we come up with. So,
well, I
I'm
am
gonna
one.
abstain.
I am one. Should I abstain?
We're not voting today anyways.
We're not voting today? Okay, then we would have a quorum, so,
Okay,
if we're not voting, it doesn't matter, but I think when it does come to a vote, I should abstain.
but maybe anybody who has a slip should abstain.
Yeah, I would say it's a direct conflict of interest. I mean, I'd love to see rate 10. But that wouldn't be responsible. So,
Just one little update in the projected revenue increase, if we go to $112, which is the rate 2, that should theoretically bring in about $48,000 additional. Not 44.
I said 34 in the memo because we based it off of our current year.
Yeah.
And then increasing it by 12%. That's how I came up with that
Oh,
number.
okay.
But that's why I'd like to hear if you have a different
Yeah, I
way of
got
calculating
48,
that.
and it's actually a little bit more than that. A little more difficult to calculate, because we have a handful of boats that are longer than the slip they're in, and so we charge them for that whatever hangs over, okay? So there's another,
it's the hangover fee.
it's the hangover fee, there's another
Sales are used to it.
$8,000 there too.
I'm
Okay.
curious about these rates. I mean, does anybody charge rate 10? I mean, who? What?
I could imagine that being charged at like, Point City or
Oh.
a really, or what's the one that's way up the arm, where nobody goes?
I'm thinking like Whitefish Point
Yeah,
Marina,
Okay.
the mini boats can't even get into because it's very shallow.
I got it.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Was it
Okay,
Jordan,
Queen City?
Jordan, this one's
East
Eastwood.
Jordan.
Yeah.
and do the other marinas in our county charge rate 2?
It's difficult to know what the seasonal rates are. I can find out what the transient rates are much easier because it's in the,
Right. it's in-
okay, but the
uh-huh.
seasonal rates often aren't.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to guess that Clinch is probably, Traverse City is probably at rate 2, Charlevoix is probably at rate 2. Sutton's Bay is lower than that, but they will be jumping up as they build their new bathhouse. Mount
Okay.
Rapids is jumping up.
Okay. Well, we have a wonderful marina, so I think we should charge what it's worth.
And you can base it on the waiting list too.
Mhm.
Now, I'm speaking against my best interest here, but based on the waiting list, we should probably be charging rate one. Because people will pay it. For seasonal, I think for transient, you don't wanna, you will get some backlash. I know people avoid Charlotte because it's stupid expensive. And I don't think we wanna be into. Getting into where we wanna be in marina that's avoided by the transients. So I'd like to keep the transient lower. And you guys can do what you want with the seasonal, and I'm not gonna vote on it. But supply and demand would say you go rate one. And I just cost myself $1,000 by opening my mouth, but that's probably what we should do.
I agree.
Hmm.
Based on demand. I mean,
Yeah.
I really don't,
Until people
learning so
start
much
dropping
about
off the
rate,
list, we should be charging as much as we legally can.
But
What
as,
is rate-
as far
what
as
is rate
demand
one?
goes,
Rate one is would be $121. And I'm, and you're right, when, if you base it on the demand with the waiting list. And my feeling is I feel bad for the local people who might not be able to afford that.
What local people?
Well, there are some. local-
Nobody's gonna drop out, and BDOC is getting the deal of the century. I mean, basically, they're getting a waterfront cottage for $6,000 a year. Or if that, I mean, it's an insane deal that they get. They never even take their boats out of their slips. Most of them, they just sit there all summer and party on BDOC, and great for them, but. You know, we shouldn't be subsidizing it.
I've been working on the draft capital improvement plan staff, we've been working on more, we were looking at it the other day. There's a lot of projects in the marina. And if you start talking about expansion, another thing that is on our discussion list. You gotta pay for it. And so. I totally understand being sensitive to people's ability to pay. Local interests, all that sort of thing, but if you just look strictly at supply and demand and what you need to do to invest in future projects. Just next year, we're looking at the bubblers, the break wall, void repair issues, and that's not even addressing the boardwalk. Or the expansion planning, and I think there's another one off the top of my head that I'm forgetting too, and so you start stacking those up. And $48,000 a year increase in revenue covers just a portion of that. So that's kind of the budget side of things too.
Does it make any sense at all to just go to rate two this year and jump to one next year? So we don't hit them all at once?
See that? Maybe get that message out there.
That it will-
We're at 2, but you can expect a rate 1.
And then it's for improvements, to
Yeah.
marina and expansion and all these
If-
things, like.
If people complain about the increases, you say, well, wait till next year. You ain't seen nothing yet.
In theory, it would be a 10% increase this year and whatever rate.
And then another 10%.
Another 10% next year,
So, yeah,
roughly,
okay, I don't know.
rather than
whatever you guys want to
20%
do.
all at once.
That also gives locals time, if there are local slip holders that he's worried about, to know that it's coming.
$121 a foot is approximately $72,000 additional per year.
So what are your thoughts as far as going to two this coming year and one the following year?
That's a fine idea. Yeah, I think that's a decent proposal.
Yeah.
Rather than hitting them real hard.
That'd be super sticker shock. That's a good idea.
I haven't ever known.
Well, I think it's definitely important if we can increase revenues to do so, because like when I was looking at capital, I mean, like. One of the things Jared was saying is like, well, these are all the projects that would be great to do next year, but. That the total is too high for what we can do next year, right? I mean, there's just a lot. And some of it might not be accurate pricing, because like the void stuff
We don't.
could be way worse than we're estimating, or not.
We don't know.
Yeah, until it's looked at.
So I hear some consensus for action next meeting to 2, and you're okay with the transient rates as we've proposed, which really shift more about demand based on demand through the year rather than.
I have no problem
just,
voting on the transient rates, and I think they should be as, we should be in C for transient. Not B, I mean, that's my opinion, and go up on seasonal and down on transient, because the marina wasn't that full, supply and demand, once again. That's the emptiest I've seen it, this year, even barely sold out 4th of July, if I remember right, so. Yeah, we should not be raising our transients.
The move would actually be to go back to A in the transients.
If you decrease, it's
Yeah,
from
they-
B to A.
The seasonals and the transients work in opposite directions there.
Yeah,
Oh, they do? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
never mind.
But what
Yeah.
A would do would keep
Why
us
don't they-
be basically at the same as right around where we're at right now, because right now for a 25-footer, it was $22 this
Yeah.
last year. And they'd actually see a small decrease of $1. Is that per foot or that's the state, it's $21 per
No,
night?
that's just the rate, that's not the per foot rate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The $21 a
And
night.
the transient rate schedule is really more complicated than just a single rate category.
Mm-hmm.
Last year we did it's always been kind of lower in the shoulder month and then higher in the seasonal.
Yeah,
And what we did this last year was a little bit higher for the 4th of July and a little bit higher for uncaged. And that really worked out well. Nobody complained.
yeah, peak
yeah.
pricing, I mean, like what we
Yeah.
just talked to, supply and demand, I
Yeah.
mean, we charge the most at the highest.
Yeah.
Joni, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I also mentioned to our harbor master and manager that a lot of things that we see are cancellations leading right up to. These are our peak months or short time, and I think the harbor master's gonna look into what we can do with that, but I would think that anything from at least a 3-day notice, 4-day notice, you get a full refund, but when that cancellation happens within 24 hours, it's, other people have made plans. And that's where we're losing out, you can't have that. I understand that the weather changes.
Yeah, some of this weather, you're not gonna fill those slips anyway, if it's nasty, so, and also, I think there's gonna be rules on the DNR website. And the other thing is that, is this still true, that if you book through the DNR website, you pay a state fee of $7?
8, I think,
Eight.
8 or 10.
And if you I tell people to call the dock house, because you can avoid that fee.
You still pay.
You still pay it? Okay,
And the only time you don't pay is if they call the dock house on the day of,
okay,
then they don't pay.
right,
Okay.
then you have
But if it's a
no.
future reservation, they still.
Right,
But these slips are marked out on our website and are unavailable. So,
right,
it certainly,
And there are people who, we see it all summer long, who have multiple reservations on the same night. Like I'll get a call looking for a reservation and the notice pops up and says, this boat has a conflicting reservation in Beef Island.
Oh, so
Oh,
we can
yeah.
track, not just within our own marina,
Oh,
but
yeah.
across.
that's
all.
smart coding.
Oh,
Yeah,
If you can't make it to Beaver, you can stop in Northport.
yeah. Well, but that's where we get cancellations, the late last minute cancellations. People have a couple of reservations out there, depending on where the weather is, then they go there and they just cancel the other two.
So does the DNR have a policy on what you can and can't do for that?
Their policy is, notification beyond 24 hours, they get a full refund. It's within 24 hours, no refund unless it's kind of at the harbor master's discretion. If it's weather related, we can say, yeah, okay, we'll give you the money back. Otherwise, no. Sorry.
So is that what we normally do
That's-
within the 24? But what you're saying, Joni, is it needs to be more than 24.
I-
When we can, if it's not weather.
And I agree, there should be some other policy. I have reached out to the DNR to ask for clarification, if we are able to even consider that as a policy. And I haven't heard.
at a minimum 48 hours. I mean, I go camping, you don't get your reservation money back if you cancel. And that's weather related too. You're like, oh, it's gonna rain. That's it in my tent all weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So we'll know more when I hear back. Sure.
Bill, I know it is at your discretion, but is that something that you're comfortable with, or is that something that we should consider just council wise and not put it on your shoulders?
I think it'd be great to have a policy. I mean, well, I guess we have a policy, it's the DNR policy. When I hear back from my DNR contact, or if that's possible, I'll share it with you, and we can discuss whether or not.
But what you're saying as far as the day of and it's weather related and you give them the money back, are you comfortable with that, or do you want
I'm
us to,
okay,
are we comfortable with it?
but you know, that's up to, yeah, are you guys comfortable?
Okay.
Like, was there like a increase or decrease in the transient rates or revenue this year?
Flat.
Flat.
Same.
Okay,
So, last year, for 2024, this past summer, we made some adjustments in the transient, schedule to, I think I projected like $15,000 increase, but we didn't get that. But the rate increase sort of covered the drop in demand,
okay.
is kind of what happened.
Yes, I thought I remember hearing that we were down earlier in the year, but by the end of the summer, we had made up whatever that
Yeah.
potential.
And the drop in demand was statewide.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't just us, it was all over.
Okay, so it sounds like we're comfortable with the rate B for the 112 a foot for the seasonal. And then as far as the transient, was there to stick with A or
Well, there's this,
or one and two?
when you look at it in the memo, it explains, they have it, it's a different rate depending on what time of the summer it is. So it varies
Right,
greatly.
yeah,
Cause like, so rate B from 5:15 to 6:14, rate G from 6:15 to 6:27, H from 6:28 to 7:06, G from 7:07 to 9:15.
so
D
just stay
from-
with that schedule?
Yeah, like
Okay.
that's,
That's what I'm.
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Fine with me.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on the rates? All right, thanks for your input there, Bill. We have, next up is a policy update, and in the manager's memo, it's surrounding the use of e-bikes, it sounds like,
Yes.
in the
That-
marina
that's
on the
specific-
break wall.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good time to, if you have others in mind, this is a good time to bring them up, but that's the one that's come forward.
Well, it seems to me that people on e-bikes or people on regular bikes can all ride recklessly, and it's all, management is all up to the staff of the marina. I don't see why we need to specify any prohibition against e-bikes, since regular bikes can be just as challenging.
Well-
I kind of disagree on that.
A few years ago, there were no bikes other than staff allowed on the docks.
Yeah, that's another option, there's no bikes, but
But the break wall is. Well, the elephant in the room here is. Staff member's child is the biggest offender. That's one that I get the most complaints about.
who's that?
Your son is crazy on that thing. I mean. I'm not wanting to point fingers, you know, but it's uncomfortable for me because. You know, that's, and I love the kid. I think he's hilarious and I love to see him out there fishing and stuff, but he flies out there on the break wall. And I think maybe that's really 99% of the complaints is just one person. So I think also we could just
It's a
solve.
group of kids.
It's not,
never.
yeah, it's him.
And not just one, I'm sorry. And I'm, Jody, please forgive me. I think it's funny, it's hilarious. He's a teenager, you know, whatever, it's great. I'm not singling out your kid. It's just, I think this problem is gonna will self-heal. I think it'll go away.
We've got a lot of voter complaints about it.
I mean, to me, the point of having a policy that makes it way easier on the staff. Because then they point to a policy instead of like, they have to decide if it's egregious enough or there wasn't a complaint or not. Like, so I feel like. Either there is a policy or there isn't, but like if there is complaints and it's regular. I mean, then it's something we probably should consider. And e-bikes can go really fast.
Well, they come, state of Michigan, they're throttled at 18 miles an hour. And all the ones I rent really won't go over 18 unless you're pedaling super hard. The motor stops helping you.
So why did we,
You can jailbreak them. You can reprogram them to go as fast as you want. To make this meeting even longer, in Europe, if a cop sees you on an e-bike and it looks like you're going over their European specs, they have a portable little thing that they'll stop you and they'll put your e-bike on it, and if it goes faster than 20 or whatever it is, they write you a ticket for having jailbroken, for having an illegal bike. We're not doing that here, but as an aside, they're only supposed to go 18. It's a long way to the end where those kids want to fish. I don't think they should have to walk. I think it's. I
why
think
did the rule used to be that only staff could have bikes on the docks?
because we have,
Just the docks and the boardwalk. The break wall is always, there've always been people on bikes out there. Yeah.
The biggest reason I'm in favor of banning e-bikes, number one, the speed. Number two, the disrespect to the boaters that some of them are causing. But if we put a policy in place and put a sign up, we give the boaters some leverage too, is saying, you're not supposed to be on here with your e-bike. And because the biggest thing is gonna be after hours when there's no enforcement.
well. So, playing devil's advocate, if you turn the motor off, is it still an e-bike? If they can still pedal it out there without motor assist. I think it's kind of. I think there should be a warning saying, hey, if you guys don't slow down, we're gonna get rid of them. And that might take care of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you an example of what happened. My nephew was up with his young son.
Mhm.
His young son was out there fishing, the e-bikes show up, they scared the hell out of him because of their language that they're using and name calling that's going on.
Okay, that has nothing to do with
And then-
e-bike.
Yes, well, they're all on e-bikes,
So, but that doesn't
but
give
the
their.
boaters also complained, and they both, all the kids very disrespectfully told them to go jump in the lake too, so I think we need to address this. I personally think we need to ban it.
I also understand that happened during Leelanau and Cage, and there was a lot of people from out of town here. So whether it was local or out of town kids,
As far as e-bikes again,
yes.
I think there's a problem, guys.
I think you're conflating two different things. You're conflating rude, teenage behavior that they might be doing that anyway if they had to walk. I mean, I don't see why because they're on an e-bike is gonna make them behave worse. There's no causation there for me.
I think it's
like you're saying they're a motorcycle gang or something. It's,
Well, they were asked to slow down and they basically said no.
well, okay, they're gonna have to, yeah, all right. I'm not an expert.
No e-bikes over 5 miles an hour. I don't know, but
What do you think, Bill?
Could we set a
Yeah.
speed limits
yeah,
or put speed bumps or something? I don't know.
I mean, to me,
No,
before I would go
jump.
to speed bumps, I would say, yeah, I would say something like no vehicles or traffic over whatever speed.
Take it slow.
Seems,
I don't know,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, my concern is two. First, the break wall is very uneven, and if you're going along and you're carrying your tackle box and your fishing pole and you hit what you could, man, have a heck of an accident, because none of them wear helmets. So that's my greatest concern is the kids hurting themselves. The second is because they're so quiet that a boater stepping off their boat onto the break wall and getting hit. So those are my biggest concerns. I think it's great that the kids are out there fishing on the end of the break wall and they're not sitting at home on their iPads and their whatever game consoles. I think it's fabulous that they're out there and they really aren't, other than some of the disrespectful stuff, they're being kids. But,
I think they've been disrespectful to you too.
oh
haven't
yeah.
Do you have a bullhorn?
No,
I think we need to invest in one. I mean, for the kid, you're always yelling across there, I think a bullhorn would, although that might annoy the other boaters. They're hearing the bullhorn all the time, like, I live behind the pizza wagon, it's like, pizza for day, all day long.
So maybe some signage at the beginning of the break wall, at least asking bike riders to be respectful of the boaters and pedestrians out there. I mean,
You know, and if there is signage, it needs to not just be up here, it needs to be down here too. You know, on the sidewalk, so that, because sometimes that's where your eyes are, down there.
Well, I think if the policy is what the signage says, then there's a policy either way, because then if there is someone on an e-bike that's going 18 miles an hour, they're breaking the policy and you can comment and tell them they have to stop or leave. And if they're using the e-bike appropriately, then they aren't a problem.
It is.
And if it doesn't work, then it could change next year and be a policy where there are no e-bikes of any kind because people didn't respect it.
I'm trying to think of a rhyme, slow your roll or lose your fishing pole. Alright. Yeah, but yeah, I think I would be more in favor of some stern language and warnings.
I would too.
And I would say repeat offenders could get the boot. I mean, you should be able to say, hey, 3 strikes, you're out.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is if the policy is the speed, then a violation is a violation. Cause I mean, people still might take a bike on even if it says no bikes. I mean, people
Unsafe
could
or reckless
violate either
speed.
way.
Unsafe or reckless speed could be in the judgment of the harbor master or the number of complaints about a certain individual. So we don't have to have a radar gun. You can say, that's obviously too fast and reckless. Slow down, and if I have to tell you again, you're gonna not be able to bring your bike out here, one, you know, whatever.
mhm.
I think it'd be a good start anyway.
Yeah, I just hate to see, I don't wanna see them banned. I think that's too much on the kid. Sorry, I have soft truck for kids. I think that would really suck to have to lock your bike up, walk all the way out there, and they go out like 3 times a day. They'll go out, they'll fish for an hour, they'll go do something in town, they'll go back out and fish for an hour. If you had to walk every time, that'd just be a bummer. I mean, I feel bad for the kids. And I love to see them fishing out there. They're using the amenities of the village.
Like,
Growing up in Northport, fishing off the dock, I mean,
I'm more
that's what
American.
people remember about growing up. It's part of being a kid in Northport. I want to take that away.
But in the old days, you walked out there.
Or we rode our bikes out there.
Yeah, I think he's right. I'm remembering wrong. You could always ride your bike out there.
Ask me if I feel comfortable enforcing a policy like that.
Oh, well, do you? No. Oh, you do?
No,
Oh,
it's
it's bad enough to get them to not fish up the
it's a tough policy to enforce. A tough policy to enforce.
So you'd rather enforce no bikes at all? I
I'd
don't
rather not
understand
have-
what you want.
I'd rather
You'd
I'd rather
rather,
not have to be the one.
yeah, you'd rather they did what they were told.
I'd rather, and they don't.
Well, the manager, you
Yes,
know,
yes, I'll get my manager badge out, and that's really, I mean, I'd say that tongue in cheek, but really, you know, the ticket book that I have.
as the chief enforcement officer here in the village.
This was yeah, right. So, you know, my first summer here, and I noticed at least once, I think there were other times, potentially, I've been kind of think through it, when there was someone that Chris Holton talked to about camping, and they gave him a horrible attitude. That was this year. He told me a story, I think, of another one a few years back. And the extent of our ability to enforce is limited. And I wonder the same about saying you're not allowed at the marina anymore, period, if there was one problem person. I'm not sure if we have the power to actually do that.
We've done it for boaters.
As a red, okay, but see, so that's a little separate though, because it's a slip.
Right.
So when you're talking about a public space,
Yeah.
and
I don't-
Leelanau County Sheriff's Department won't enforce village ordinances, it puts us in a tough spot. And I think it can put Bill in a tough spot, it can put me or Chris Holton in a tough spot. And I just want to give you that practical side of things, because I wish there was a way that we could, and I think that's what we have to end up doing, is we have to massage these things and talk to people, you know, talk to somebody that we know. And it's more about encouraging good behavior rather than trying to punish bad,
Sure.
as much as that sometimes maybe doesn't work. I'm afraid there maybe isn't a good solution.
Can Joni issue tickets?
Well,
I put it on their yellow.
Just wait till you get
Yeah,
home.
maybe it's just- I can tell you, so, you know, we got a book, we got the tickets. But then following through on that. That's where the challenge comes, you know, you gotta get legal counsel involved if you take it
Yeah.
to its limit,
Oh, boy.
Sure.
No.
right? That's what happens, the village council ends up serving as the prosecuting attorney. When you take those enforcement measures to their limits. So, that's just the kind of my practical.
Sure, no, it all makes
Okay.
sense.
Just like the sort of the compromise that Hugh proposed on the rates. Why don't we just encourage slowness somehow? This year, and if it remains a really big issue, then we could always ban e-bikes. I don't like the idea either. Just because I think recklessness can happen with regular bikes also. So,
I mean, even just a sign, it's like, remember, take it slow if you're riding a bike, or, you know,
Yeah.
if you're riding bikes, slow. I don't know, you know, like anything versus right now where there's nothing.
Some of these new e-bikes, you can barely tell, they really high battery, like, the expensive ones, like, that's an e-bike, you can't even see the battery or the motor. That's another thing, that's not that important, but.
Well, let's say it's a speed issue.
It's a-
Regardless.
Yeah,
of
whether it's
whether
an e-bike or a regular bike,
It's a
it's
speed,
about
right.
riding at an appropriate
There
speed
you
when
go.
there are people
There you
present on the break.
Yes.
You know,
like spray a thing of an image of a bicycle and with the word slow or something.
I mean,
On the
Develop some kind of
slow your
signage.
roll.
I think we can.
Use your pull.
Yeah, let's start, my suggestion is let's start with signage.
Yeah,
And then if it's not working, even mid-season, we could say, okay, you guys aren't paying attention to signs. No e-bikes for 2 weeks. No bikes for 2 weeks, you know, and then,
I'd feel more comfortable banning all bikes than just banning e.
I
That's
think,
what he's
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
I think you really shouldn't, I mean, I have a road bike, I've hit 40 miles an hour on it, I mean, you can, there's, just because you have an E, doesn't mean you're necessarily going faster.
Okay.
And
There's also, because the kids out there fishing, there's a bit of a garbage issue out at the end of the dock.
That sucks.
And, we need to address that somehow. I hate the thought of putting a garbage can out there because retrieving the garbage is really difficult. It's way out there, but
Mhm.
that is another problem.
Go get you an e-bike.
Yeah. I bet my little white truck would make that.
There's Segway.
Well, and there's e-scooters that are around town too, they
Yeah.
go too fast. So it's not just the e-bike, it's just speed
Mhm,
in general.
mhm. All right, well, we'll start with some
So let's start with signage.
signage enforcement and, you
That's all
know,
we can do.
hopefully the.
If you need, you can put a sign for trash too, like clear your trash. See if it makes any difference or not, I don't know.
But I like Jared's approach of, encouraging good behavior rather than punishing. I think that's gonna attract more.
After the meeting, if anybody wants to hear a funny story about the brick wall from way back. I won't roll on, it's not, but after, I gotta tell it, it's hilarious.
Put that after adjournment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up is gonna be the engineering services proposal that was in the packet. As the manager noted, this is just for discussion purposes and sort of to give us eyeballs on at least some numbers if and when this is something that the council wants to explore further.
Pat from Match Engineering is on the call, by the way.
Oh,
I'm glad to see him tuning in. I didn't, ask, but I'm glad he's here, it looks like, so we had specific questions about it. This is not something that's necessarily set in stone, you know, if there's aspects of the proposal that you have questions about, or you would say, we maybe should do this or that a different way, I'm sure he'd be open to that. But I turned to him as a resource because he's worked on the marina.
mhm.
And I need some guidance on, as we talked about it with staff, we really, needed that third party to come in, somebody that's worked on these kinds of expansion projects in many different places to help give me some stepwise direction in terms of how we include this in a improvement plan and visualize the steps in coming years. If it's something that the council and the community would like to work towards.
In your memo, I'll call it this, but you did state 26-27 capital improvement project, right? So this is like a very forward thinking, looking.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, there's all
Budget for
sorts of different
fiscal
ways.
year.
Yeah, not like the budget we're gonna approve.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
next
that's
year,
right. Oh my
next
God.
year.
Is
yeah,
26.
It would,
That's right.
right. Like
Yikes.
this,
Okay,
yeah. So starting with the
I'm off
next
here.
budget year.
And so it would go into that fiscal
Yeah.
year is what you're hoping for, so that they can start working on these things.
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
but yeah, that's why I want to present it, is to start that discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Susan.
As far as I know, we have never voted as a council to look into expanding the marina.
This is true, that I can remember ever I mean, other than very informal mentions,
Right.
we've never,
So I
had a
think
serious discussion or taken any kind of a consensus or vote.
I sort of think a little like what Laura said about 7th Street, we need to announce that that we want to expand the marina. And I'm not sure I know why we want to do that. I sort of like our marina the way it is. And I know it brings in money, but I'd like to see the argument for expanding the marina before we spend a bunch of money on the first looks at what it could be. That's my position.
Well,
I mean, I can give the pro side of it, there's two. First of all, the waiting list to get a seasonal slip is forever, as you know. It's gotten a little shorter since we started invoking the $25 a year fee to stay on the list, but it's still, there are towns in Michigan where you can just show up and get a seasonal slip. And it's weird. Here, it's like walk in the office and ask for a seasonal slip and they'll laugh. But good luck. I mean, some people die waiting for their slip, and I've known several people, unfortunately. And some people move away because they couldn't get a slip. Secondly, in terms of the transient population, it's not just the marina revenue. It's not just the slip fees and the fuel. It benefits the entire economy of the town. I mean, from the grocery store, the tourist shops, my store, the restaurants, everything. We don't have a lot of hotel. We don't have 7 hotel rooms or whatever, 9. And people say, well, we got to get rid of the Airbnbs. Well, hey, we can have all those tourist dollars without the Airbnb issue if we expand the marina. I mean, expanding the marina, there's no downside that I see other than how in the world do you pay for it and how could it be done in terms of an engineering feat, which I guess we're going to hear about. But I think I would be happy to take a vote of the council to explore the possibility and spend up to a few $1,000s investigating whether this could even be done. Yes, I think we should move forward on it. There's no reason not to. I don't see a downside. Okay. Well, no, I don't see a downside.
Laura,
Yeah, so a few things. One, I just wanted to say that obviously it's not a vote, but marina expansion's been on CIP lists since before I was on council. So I mean, it's absolutely been there over and over and over again. And there was originally a plan, I believe, that already we're at the 5 years of that, and we still haven't done any action on any of those things, but it had been in the CIP timed out and thought that would be something that would be happening. And I know that's not what you're referring to, but it definitely is not like this is brand new and has not been discussed. This has definitely been discussed. As someone who's on the planning commission and is currently very involved in the master plan, I will say that a large number of our goals is to be sure that we are ensuring growth in our economic vitality and our utility, all of our services, right? That's one of our things that we're working to do. And again, as Will was saying, the marina provides a huge amount of support to the entire village for its revenues. I mean, it is not just what
It's a massive economic driver.
they come here, they don't have
I
a
know.
car, they are then coming to our businesses and essentially our businesses alone, not Fishtown's, not Suns Bay's, not Lake Leelanau's. And
And
with,
they don't bring cars, so there's no,
correct,
there's no parking issues with all these people that just come from the water. It's like money from that.
Magic.
Yeah,
And when we have, I think that the revenues, as long as it's scheduled out far enough, that's why we're doing this, to find out how much would it cost, what would be involved, and how much would we have to do, how many bonds or whatever heck will we have to do to make this a feasibility. But to me, when it's bringing in a huge amount of our revenues and is, a central facet of the town, I don't see why we wouldn't consider and see what possibilities there are to expand it.
yeah, I mean, the first person that brought this to my attention was Jim Dyer's like, why aren't you expanding the marina? I'm like, you can't expand the marina, like, how you gonna, I just thought it was silly, and then he's like, it'd pay for itself, like, because of the number of seasonal slips you would sell, that's guaranteed revenue to pay off. If you issued a bond, the bond is going to be paid off, guaranteed, we don't have to wait and see if they come. It's gonna be paid off, and so, yeah, so it will pay for itself, it's basically gonna be free in the end. Why not do it? And I, like, a light bulb went off in my head, I was like, wow. I never even, that's something I just thought was impossible, now I think we should be looking at it. So, I wanna hear what the engineer says, cause it drops off,
Well,
Yeah.
I would like to
it's
ask
deep out there.
Bill, this decline in transient business that we saw this summer, is there any indication that interest in boating is declining generally?
Oh, gosh, no.
No, okay.
There was the COVID craze and everybody bought a boat. And many of those people, there's kind of a glut in the boating market around and a brokerage market for boats. But boats are still getting bigger. People are buying, their first boats are still way bigger than they should be. But a lot of seasonals, as Will pointed out, park the boat in the slip and that's where it stays.
Mhm.
So it's the moving the boat around that gets expensive, right? The fuel and the main and all of that. We have 165 names on the waiting list. So, there's a 10-year wait for 32s, an 18-year wait for 42s, and an 11-year wait for 60s.
Wow, okay.
Pat, do you have any?
Well, and that list is pared down, because
Used to be
if, a lot of
300.
people just don't even bother to get on it, because they don't know if they're gonna be around in 10 years.
Right.
And I'm sorry, we're taking up Mr. Mashin's time, but if you could just, if you get a slip tomorrow, a lot more people would. So, anyway, this guy's on the clock. so.
Okay, and I too, like you, Will, I can't visualize,
That's where you gotta talk to this, cause I
Right.
don't,
all right, Pat, what can you tell us?
Okay. Well, I'm not on the clock yet, so this is,
Yeah, we haven't approved the proposal.
Yeah.
this is fine. We're in proposal stage. We're basically in discussion phase, right? So this is, with some of the discussions that Jared and I have had, was basically what is the outlook for the marina? What is the outlook for the community, really? And the outlook for the community is basically increasing traffic into the community. And one way to do that is through having more boat slips. The marina is approaching, and portions of it is approaching its life. In fact, it's already surpassed that in some locations. We've talked about the breakwater. We've talked about some of the other dockage. We did the parking lot. We did the boat launch. But there's some other things that this thought of an expansion would help to answer. And to answer the question of it's deep out there, the answer is yes, it is deep out there. So there would have to be some holistic kind of thoughts on how are we going to be able to do this. And one of the ways to do this, to start this kind of program off, is really to get good public input. Get good public input, find out what people in the community, what they're thinking that they want to envision the marina to be. And that's pretty much the first steps of this proposal. And then once that community vision session, if you will, is done, look at doing, I think we have up to 3 different concepts. What does the concept look like? It could be a partial expansion. It could be a much larger expansion. I mean, it really is, it's kind of up in the air for a visionary kind of standpoint. And one of our main goals would be to answer those questions. How do we do this? Deep water, what do we end up doing? Maybe a portion of it ends up becoming a floating system. And there's lots of floating systems that are out there. We were actually looking at a project in Alaska that's a floating system out in the ocean. So it can be done. So Northport is considered a quiet area on the Great Lakes because of its position. So it's in a really great area for expansion. Community visioning, come up with some concepts, and then share the concepts with the community and see where they want to go with that. But basically, it's kind of a timed proposal of here's some activities to help guide the situation, help guide the program. How do we increase economic impact into the community while using the marina to do that?
Thanks.
I have a question
Yeah,
about
sure.
proposal, but, so my question is just about the part 2 grant assistance that you've outlined, and I talked to Jared a little bit about this, but I just was wanting clarification because our recreation plan needs updated already. So when you're referring to reviewing the draft of the recreation plan, what do you mean by that? Like reviewing the copy you currently have and giving feedback, or I'm not sure what that aspect is.
No, that's a good question. Well, right now, the current rec plan, you basically have done everything that's in the rec plan to the marina. So this would be the new one. This would be the updated one. And talking with the DNR grant agent, is the village has to come up with a new 5-year plan, new rec plan, and really can't go after any kind of granting until that's been completed. So the purpose and the thought is in our proposal is while we're working and looking at expansion, working with the community and what that looks like, bring that alongside in the rec plan, whatever the outcome is of that, and then use that and help obtain a grant. And the reason why this was talked about for 2026 and 27 is because you have to have all of that in order to be able to go after a grant. So there's quite a bit of work that's needing to be done to get there. So it's kind of a real forward part. That's why it's part 2.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. That's why I was asking for clarification.
Yeah.
So whatever plans you guys come up with, you would then have us implement those into the new rec plan that we are working on, and this is you giving us that information so that we can do that. That's what this means?
Right. And it's coming up with a couple of different options, up to 3 different options. And then the thought is that we have is for the community to select an option. This is what we'd like to see for the community. We would develop cost estimates because those cost estimates have to go on the rec plan so that there's some real analysis that's done in order to come up with some real cost estimates. So that way, going for any grants, the state has realistic values.
Is there any way at this early stage to estimate how many slips we would be talking about here? Because obviously it's not worth it to spend a lot of money to add 6 slips. I mean, what are we envisioning?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, if you go through this visioning process, the goal would be is to maximize your waterfront. And it probably would come into play with your master plan. And what are you doing with the neighboring park? There's 2 parking lots here. We've got some structures that are out there. There's a main breakwater. What ends up happening with that? So if you do go through this, you wouldn't want to just lightly increase capacity. You would want to look at increasing capacity so that the dollar value that you bring in from marina selling slips could pay for this, pay for the village's portion from the grant. So what does that look like? Maybe it's 100 slips. Maybe it's 80. Somewhere in there, you really have to kind of pick out, well, how far out to the lake do we want to go? It realistically probably is 80 to 100 slips.
Is there a limit? Like
There eventually will become a limit.
you could put a jetty all the way out to Northport Point or anything. So,
I'm sure we could follow riparian right all the way out, but
And how many slips do we
it
have?
probably wouldn't be ideal. One of the aspects, of course, too, would be securing bottomlands lease with the state. So conversations would have to be had with the state of what do they realistically willing to entertain for a bottomlands lease. I mean, those are things kind of off in the future endeavors on that, but those nonetheless have a lot to do with the expansion and what you would look at doing.
So I had asked how many slips we currently have.
Depending on how you count them, about 118 plus 512 feet on the broadside.
So 130.
Oh,
Can I
Bill,
ask
yeah,
Pat a question?
go ahead, Bill.
Pat, would you consider, in looking at this, any kind of a mooring field like they have, done at Westpick down at Elmwood?
And at Elmwood. I've been told that Elmwood's mooring field is kind of a thing of the past. That since that's been a historical feature of that they've kind of left them have it. But that was some conversations years ago. And that's an opportunity, but what happens is the one benefit to Elmwood is that they have a really large area. They're in a dig out, basically. So their area here, they basically made that. So we'd be going into the natural water body. In order to have a reasonable mooring field, you probably would want to have a level of protection. And that would be like wave attenuators and those things. Really, that comes down to cost benefit. If you end up going and you're allowed to do a mooring field by the state, what is the cost for that? Which the cost outlay for that is going to be quite inexpensive. You would just have wave attenuators that would help protect them, but you wouldn't have any slips. And I guess it kind of comes down to what your current clientele would prefer too.
I would,
Go ahead.
one of the things that I am having trouble visioning, but this is where like the magic of engineering, people, you guys always think of this stuff. But I'm just thinking if we're going east, it's an awful long way to the bathrooms. And you gotta go all the way around, like you can't cut across the main fairway. So do you have any vision for that, or we're gonna figure that out like down the road? I mean, that'll be part of the plan.
That's a really good question to put, a really good comment to put on the list.
Okay.
But that is definitely something that is of an issue when you have to walk out there. There's been a lot of discussion about e-bikes on the breakwater. I mean, people have a tendency to want to have some sort of transportation when it's that far out or plan ahead. But I don't know how much, if you put larger slips in, people are going to have restroom facilities on their boat. That probably would be a more practical thing to have larger slips than on the further reaches.
To do 2 small bathrooms out on the expansion, perhaps some holding tanks or. No, you can pump, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, I'm just, okay.
Yeah, these are all good questions.
I'm dragging this out.
You know, the
Let's not get
community,
into the weeds of the,
right,
we're not even there yet. I'm
this is all
sorry.
great stuff that would come up in the community
Yeah,
input
I'm
session, and if we're gonna
not-
do that.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm also concerned about the parking lots. I mean, if we have
Well, they're coming by boat.
100, well, I know, but to get to the boat, these are
Oh,
gonna be seasonal.
For more seasonals, yeah, I thought.
Yeah,
about that
I
too.
mean, the parking lots are pretty full already in the summer and,
Golf carts. Golf carts.
yeah, I don't know, but,
I think these are all issues
Yeah,
that
right.
we brought up
Right.
at the discussion, right?
Right.
Like, these are all things that you
we're
talk
gonna
about and try to figure out.
we're gonna be asked to approve how much is it? A lot of money, to do this study and,
What is the proposal on
86,000
yeah,
86,000?
yeah.
for the community input sessions,
Oh,
up to 3
Which ones are-
designs.
I didn't do my homework.
Yeah, 86,000 is part one, 87,000 in essence is part one, and part two, which is the grant help is 5,800.
I feel like it's really critical that we do this though, because you don't know what the options are, what the availability, like, I mean, people have been talking about this for a number of years. And I just feel like you can't come up with if it's a viable solution or something, or the problems are too great. Unless you look at this stuff.
I guess, but that's a big price tag for a peak. And what if it turns out we spend the 86,000 and engineering wise, it's gonna be like not that feasible, or I don't know, like what if we spend the 86,000 and then realize, yeah, we really don't wanna do this.
then we know for a very long time that the marina can't be expanded.
Okay.
You kind of settled that.
Yeah, I need to think about it. I mean, we're not gonna vote today.
No, this is just for,
I want to throw this out there in terms of timing though too, and it's open-ended.
Mhm,
You do it now, you can do it never, you can do it next
mhm.
fiscal year, do it there's
Yeah,
no set time when this has to be done, no
No,
deadline. But you're gonna be using the same cash balance whenever you do it. Marine operations are done for the year. We know generally what our outlook is, we know what our cash balance is, so you can do it now, you can include it in next year's fiscal year budget. You can include it in the CIP for down the road. So I just wanna put that out there, that this is a discussion and you're really, but in terms of timing, if you're interested in doing it and you're committed and you feel like there's support after we talk to people and you hear feedback, you do it now.
I think there's 165 people that'd like to see the
yeah,
marina expand.
okay, I've said,
So I appreciate bringing it on. Pat, thank you for joining us today
thank you, Pat.
and,
You're welcome. Thank you.
something to think about.
Yes.
Does anybody in the county have this floating system? I
there's a
don't-
lot of floating docks.
Well, we have some floating docks.
Here, you're on a floating dock.
Oh,
You're on a floating dock, yeah. The Sutton's Bay is all floating. Leland is.
Oh, they're so much better.
And but one of my questions is, do we, as part of this, rip out our fixed docks and just do floaters all over the marina? Because as Pat is pointing out, there's a lifetime to these
okay.
docks, and we may be nearing the end of that useful life for even the fixed docks.
But doing that doesn't generate increased income.
But that doesn't generate.
Yeah, so you kind of stuck, we're stuck with those, the fixed ones until they start falling in the lake.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on the proposal? All right, well, again, Pat, thank you for joining us today to give us some input on the proposal.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, that brings us to the next item is the Jerry Spears slip agreement. Let's see, documentation provided, thanks to the clerk, regarding some of the issues in terms of projects and or fees were included in the packet. And I guess, any, Sue?
What is the issue here? Is Jerry wanting, the slip again? And has Jerry paid us for the last few years? Has Jerry ever paid us?
The first year, I think paid 5,000,
Right,
but that
okay,
was not the full payment for the slip that
Okay.
year.
okay,
And in terms of, I mean, I would like to, this discussion came up at a work session, we were talking about a proposed. What I've termed a settlement and slip agreement, which is to basically put an end to any kind of barter arrangement where. The slip has been, he's had the slip in exchange for the value of the services
Right.
rendered.
okay,
And that's when this discussion came up. At this point, and I just talked to Jerry this morning. I suggested it, and Chris and I talked about it the other day, just saying, here's our best number for the services rendered going back over the years. Here's the value of the slip during that period of time. Here's the difference. We write a check. I don't love doing that, but we write the check and say, here's the difference. We're settled up. Have the settlement agreement, the document that says we've paid you for that value. There's no more claims to having the slip. And from now on, you sign the slip agreement and pay the slip fee by this date every year, just like every other slip
Okay.
holder.
okay.
That's how I would like to put an end to it. And Jerry said, fine, if
Okay.
you wanna write the check, we move on.
How much do you figure we owe him?
Yeah, and this was I'd have to pull up I can pull up the memo from the last work session, but it's a little over $30,000. It was about 83,700 for the value of his services going back to 2021. And the value of the slip at around 50.
Okay,
Yeah, but Well, I don't know if it was up with you, when, the last time I looked at the numbers and I brought this up with you, I had a disagreement on, the amount, that we're charging him. Because if you look at the minutes, when we approved this, it was supposed to be double the commercial rate. There was no
Right.
discount
Right.
per distance. And I'm strongly opposed to that. He got discounted the first year, just rounded down to 10,000. I got rounded down to 6 because it was a trial. I guess I didn't even ask for that, but somebody did. But then it should have gone to double the commercial rate the next year, and it has not. I mean, the way it's calculated is 10,000 each year, and I'm strongly opposed to that.
And so you've not been paying double the commercial?
I have
rate?
been.
You have been, but he hasn't.
He has, but he's paying 20% less than that.
Why?
And yeah, that's my question.
Well,
Why?
to be clear, there hasn't been a payment.
Well, I know,
It's
but
what,
if
it's
the
what we're
account,
valuing.
right, that, the way I don't like the way we're valuing it. I'm very much opposed to rounding his value down to 10,000 a year. That was never the original agreement, and I don't know when that got into this.
Well, wasn't it 12 initially, or?
It was 10 the first year, then it was supposed to go to 12 and then go up as the commercial.
I'm not trying to be a
rates
jerk,
went up.
but did you guys read all the notes that they pulled together?
Yes.
Like, it
Yes.
outlines and shows that it isn't 10 the whole time. I mean,
It's not
there's
10.
different numbers that vary.
Right,
But there is 10 also. I mean, like, there are numbers that definitely match. And like, you guys have pulled from those, right? Like that, they pulled directly from the documents. A ton of it is waterfront committee. That then went to council for a bunch of them to get voted and.
So what did
We
Jerry
never-
come to us and say, you owe me money?
Or something.
What precipitated all this?
This goes back a little ways,
Well-
at a minimum, I mean, I think this goes back at least to like, there were discussions about this at the waterfront committee back in 21, 22-ish. When Jim was here, he had talked to Jerry and Bill also, I think, about settling this and not, putting an end to that kind of arrangement, but didn't get to it. Never ended up being,
And it's not talked about after 2022 in the minutes at all. So
well, that's the other thing, I think the council, this has been going on, this is the other thing, I was upset about two things, that I feel like we're undervaluing the $10,000 a year I'm strongly opposed to. It should be double the commercial rate, because that's what I've been paying, and he actually gets more than I do, he gets I didn't get assigned parking spaces and all that. And so, you gotta, it's gotta be a level playing field. The other thing, that's the one thing, the other thing I'm upset about is that this went on for 5 years without I never even knew about it until very recently. I thought this had been settled, I thought that, I had no idea the amounts that were outstanding on both sides, and that there really was no contract signed. I never signed a commercial contract this year, and neither did he.
Yeah, and then
And that just shouldn't happen. I mean, I shouldn't have been in my slip without a contract. I mean, I was waiting for him to sign his, and Bill said, okay, well, when he signs his, I'll have you sign yours. Well, he never signed his. So I never signed mine. I ended up paying because I knew I owed the village money, so I paid it just like a month ago. But I was waiting to see how this was all gonna pan out, and I never did have a commercial contract for this year. So, not that I recall. So this practice cannot go forward, and that's why I do want to settle. I want to write him a check and have a clean slate. This can't go on. I don't want this loosey-goosey, oh, he gets 3 more years. Instead, no, this has to be done professionally, and this has to end.
I agree. I'm just trying to
I think the
understand.
amount of the check is the only thing that's in question. And the amount should be calculated different than what I saw so far. We need to increase the value that he was given. And then I'm fine with it, and then let's be done with it.
Bill,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I can provide some background on why Jerry thinks it should be less than the double, the recreational. And it's because, well, somebody asked why, and
Yeah.
this is the logic that he's using. It's because his boat is backed into a corner, and we use that broadside. Well, some nights we have to put boats right up against there, so he's not able to move his boat in and out. So he says, if I don't have access full access to be able to use my boat, move it in and out, then I should have to pay for that.
Even though he doesn't want to move.
Even though he doesn't, what I have said to him is, okay, if you need an extra 20 feet to move your boat in and out, then it should be an 80-foot slip you're paying for instead of a 60-foot slip. And that's, and we just.
Well, keep in mind also, he chose that slip. He could have chosen another slip. When we had the very first meeting, when he had, what's her name, was supposed to be his business partner and never was. Came and they proposed this and he said, double the commercial rate, no problem. He never, ever asked for a discount. The council never approved a discount. Then after the fact, he said, well, I can't get in and out. Well, he never goes in and out anyway. I don't even know if he has captain's license. I don't think he does. So he's not allowed to take passengers in and out, legally. I don't even know if he's running a legitimate business because we've never seen a license or a sales tax certificate from him. Mine's on display at my store. You know, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of questions that I have about this going forward. But one thing that is for damn sure is that he picked the slip and he offered to pay double the commercial rate from day one. He can't change the terms of that. Well, I've decided over time that it really wasn't worth that much. And then like, if he wanted to come to the council and ask us for a discount because of these things, he could have, but he didn't. We never, we are going about on what the minutes show was agreed to back in 2021 or whatever it was. And I am adamant that that is how much we need to value the services that he was given. And there's no $10,000 a year. That's, I don't think legally we can do that. Because the agreement from the minutes was that amount of, and to fluctuate, to go up every year as seasonal rates went up, as mine did, or commercial rates went up. So that it has to be a different amount for every year based on what we were charging that year and double it.
But my suggestion is just to use that number and put it in the agreement. We're doing our best to calculate everything down to the dollar. We're not gonna be able to get it down to the exact dollar. So there's gonna be a little bit of mutual understanding.
So make a settlement offer,
That's what I'm saying.
30,000.
Make the offer. I'll do the best calculation I can. I've already talked to Jerry about it. And
Yeah.
I feel like he'll be receptive.
Okay,
And so the dollar amount isn't, exact, but it's following what you're saying, which is the value as it's been on the books, 22, 23, 24, and 25.
good.
I think that makes, yeah.
All right, and then, I think, isn't there some question about whether he is running a legitimate, an actual business?
I think that needs to go into the contract for 2026. That when that comes up, that we need to draw a hard line this time and have a request for documents or proof that it is a legitimate business. I heard he only had one, I don't know. One of my friends is on ADOC and he said he only saw one group one weekend. Like, so basically, if you claim it's a business and it's not really a business, you just jump the line by 18 years to get your 60-foot boat in or whatever it is. If you're willing to pay double. Well, there's a lot of people like, there's a lot of Mike Chakutis out there who would do the same thing if they could figure it out, who would say, hell yeah, I'll pay $10,000 a year to get around the 10-year waiting list. A lot of people would. And you have to make sure as a precedent, we can't let that happen. It has to really be a commercial operation and they have to pay sales tax to be a commercial operation. So now maybe VRBO or Airbnb charges the tax and pays to the state of Michigan. I don't know if that's true. I did VRBO and they never charged sales tax. So I want to see a sales tax license, a reseller certificate, sales and use, and insurance and whatever else that, he may need an occupancy permit. I don't know, but he may need a Coast Guard inspection. None of this stuff has ever been done the right way. And I have to get inspected every year. I have to go through everything. They count my life preservers and they test my fire extinguishers and all that stuff. I don't think he does any of that. And I don't think it's a legitimate business. I never have thought so.
So it sounds like some some stuff in our commercial slip agreement needs to be.
The contract needs
Just
to be,
as an overall,
yeah,
that
you
applies.
can't
to
just
what-
say I'm a business.
Right, right.
This is from the 2024 contract for North Shore Outfitters. The last item in the agreement says owner agrees to provide village with either a copy of your current resale certificate issued by the state of Michigan or proof of listing contract or agreement between owner and third-party listing agent in reference to Vrbo, Airbnb, indicating sales tax will be paid a part of this agreement. Same clause
But if,
is in the Yachts Inn agreement with Jerry. I'm just saying those two
Okay.
clauses
but
are in the agreement.
as indicated by Joni, Airbnb doesn't collect sales tax.
That may
So,
be-
so that has to go out of the contract.
This clause, I think, should be more
Eliminated.
specific to the actual business that's being operated. I don't
Yeah,
see
no,
why
the
North
third
Shore.
party doesn't cut it.
Well, I think if that is covering the sales tax issue, but it's not necessarily covering safety inspections or things like
Well,
that.
and then we have to look into that too. I'm, not fully up to speed on what he needs to be running this business legally, but there's a few phone calls, wouldn't be hard to find out. I mean, Coast Guard and, DNR.
So it's that same clause. I would like to see, I think we need that clause in the commercial slip agreement, but I would like to see that clause more specific and improved.
Tighten up.
Well, I mean, for vendor permits, we require seeing the insurance and everything. So I mean, I think it's not a big ask to say that for your boating business, it's the same thing.
I'm quickly scanning this. I believe that's in the commercial slip agreement as well.
That you have to provide
Well,
proof
it
of
has to be
insurance.
Yeah,
And
it
I-
says the owner agrees to maintain sufficient satisfactory property damage and liability insurance and to provide village with proof of such prior to occupation. It's in there.
I know he took people to Beaver Island one year, and I know he doesn't have a captain's license, and he got paid for it, and that is totally illegal. I mean, we cannot be hosting illegal business in our marina. So it has to be stated that unless he has a captain's license, he cannot take people out for hire on the water. It's blatantly illegal. He needs at least a 25-ton captain's license. I have one. It's like, I know, you gotta go to school for it. It's not easy. So, no. I mean, there's a lot of no's, but let's, in the meantime, clear the slate. That's another reason why we can't say you have free docking for next 2 years, because then it gives them carte blanche to break all the rules.
Laura,
And then we're gonna ensure that we're not doing bartering with him anymore, right?
Oh, yeah,
We're
that's-
going to be 100% sure that nobody in any area is doing bartering.
DPW included.
Right, that's what I mean. In
Yeah.
any department, nobody is doing bartering.
I
We're-
will say that we just had a $300 invoice from Jerry. I think it was $300. It was
Yeah.
a very small scale job that he did, but we made sure that we had an invoice and proof of insurance. And I want to apply that standard and intend to for every vendor that we.
Right.
okay, so, it sounds like we're asking the manager to come up with a settlement agreement with Mr. Spears, different from the one we saw
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the last work session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I get it.
okay, with fees more closely associated with the true value of the slip over the course of his time in the marina.
Yep.
Okay,
If I could, I will schedule that for next, for the regular meeting. I think we can pull that together. We'll get that ready.
okay. All right, that brings us to our next item, which is gonna be village legal counsel request for qualifications. The manager provided a draft RFQ for,
What's for qualification?
yeah, for what we're looking for here, and does anybody have any feedback on it? Seemed like it was pretty well done from, I mean, I've never seen one of these before.
Yeah,
I-
Chris, can I just have one comment on that? I mean, this is in my wheelhouse. I thought this was excellent. I've got 3 very small points that I'll send to anybody who's interested, but obviously to Jared, just about ensuring that we get some kind of cap on increases in the future. I don't want to get into bore you with the technicalities of it, but again, I thought this was really, really good. And that's the only feedback I have, because what I've seen is you kind of get a good deal on the first year and then you get embedded and everyone's up to speed. And before you know it, right, you get your rates jacked up. That's kind of out of market. So I've got a way to fix that, and I'll send it to Jared. And if anybody wants to see it, just let me know.
All right, thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Any comments or discussion on the draft that was in the packet? No? Okay, so I guess,
We don't need it, you don't need any further action from council to go ahead and start publishing this, if that's your direction.
I'd say it is.
That's it. Go ahead, once you
yeah, once you get here.
talk to Joe. And it sounds like his changes are perfect. So,
Okay,
We have a consensus.
yeah, especially discussion from previous meetings regarding the village attorney and so. All right, that brings us to the next one is a request for proposal for a new auditing firm based on our relationship with UHY, or I should say our previous auditing firm. Any council comments on that?
I would say go ahead with that.
Yeah, I would just have the same comment about let's make sure we put some guardrails on their ability to jack up their fees in the future.
Okay. And our schedule for audit would be one in 2026, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Easy on that. Item D is gonna be rules of procedure. Laura asked for this to be on the agenda, I think specifically relating to,
There's a couple things. but-
yeah,
Yeah, so one of the things is that right now it just describes the meetings for regular meetings, not work sessions, and I really think we should have both of those outlined in the description. I also personally do not think that planning commission needs to be at both meetings or infrastructure at both meetings, because there is not meetings in between those times. And to me, if we have infrastructure at the work session, we've been meeting so that if there's discussion that needs to happen, it happens at the work session that's upcoming. And then planning commission at the regular meeting, because that follows after planning commission's meeting the week prior. And I don't know, I assume waterfront and LTUA may be the same, that you don't necessarily need it doubled up and have it both times, but obviously that could be up to you guys. And then I also wanted to discuss and see what other people's thoughts are on the attendance, currently saying that Zoom counts as attendance. For me, I really don't think that it should. We're not supposed to deliberate. You definitely can't vote. You don't help with the quorum. Right now, with it counting as attendance, that means you get paid for a Zoom meeting, which I also don't think is the same. And I just would like to me, I don't think that Zoom attendance should count as attendance, and I would like to see it taken out. Like, you could still attend, it's not like you can't,
So attendance at council meetings. Council may excuse absences for cause. If a council member has more than 3 unexcused excessive absences, the council may enact a resolution.
well, my question is, what is the difference between excused and unexcused?
Right,
And who determines?
I think excused has been if you just say that you can't be here.
The council determined that.
I mean, do I need to bring up the excused absences because one of the council members was in a jail cell 20 miles away? I mean, for 5 meetings in a row, he was in jail and he was kept on the council.
Well, but if the council decided they were excused, then the
Well,
council at that time decided they were excused,
but-
so.
I don't know, I just think there should be some kind of a guideline.
Of what counts, what warrants
Yeah,
unexcused
because in
versus.
that case, the council did that because they didn't want to appoint somebody else, namely me.
I can come up with some standards.
Yeah,
I can find
That's what I want.
standards from other. you know,
I think there
some
should be some
schools.
standards as to what constitutes excused versus unexcused.
But what are we trying to, what are we trying to accomplish? What's the point, right? I mean, obviously I'm attending by Zoom the majority of the meetings. And if someone thinks that, well, that doesn't count and you, whatever, I'm, what's the purpose, I guess? And whether it's excused, unexcused, or not. And I understand under Michigan law, if you're on Zoom, if you're not present, you can't vote, full stop. That's not even in question. But what's the point of changing whatever's we're trying to change Zoom versus not with respect to what considers attendance?
I have a question. First of all, I disagree with not being paid for being there on Zoom because I know what you're giving up right now for 2 hours of your time is worth a lot more than what we're paying you. And
I didn't even know we got paid. We're getting paid?
You're gonna get your check in like a couple weeks.
I've never been paid anything.
It's generally
I didn't even know you got paid.
Once a year,
once a year. Yeah, you have to do it. Yeah, you get a
based
W,
on your attendance.
you get a W-2 and everything. So I disagree with that. What I want clarification of, and it's changed since COVID, but I know that like when Susan was first on council, we included her in debate and discussion. And now I'm hearing that that's not legal, and I don't
And
know.
there's, yeah.
I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
Yeah.
regardless of our rules, what's Michigan law on that? And I don't know, but I think we should find out. And if because we need to put it in our rules to parallel
Right.
the Michigan rules,
Right,
laws. But in any case, I think if it is legal, then I don't, other than voting, I think it's attendance.
If it's legal, then that changes my opinion, but my understanding from Jim, I thought he even drafted a memo saying that it is definitely not. Chet at the retreat just said that it is not, like, that you're not allowed to deliberate if you're not here in person. You don't count towards the quorum and you can't vote.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's the common understanding right now. I've heard that multiple times. I don't have a legal opinion on it. But that's what I've-
Michigan
that's been my-
can answer that instantly.
Yeah, that's, I've heard this from.
don't ask me,
from others.
never ask the municipal league for anything legal. I've gotten so much wrong stuff from them. It's not even
Really?
funny. They don't even understand Open Meetings Act. None of them are lawyers. They don't get it. I think maybe a brief question from Ross that wouldn't cost us more than $5. You know, he would know. I don't think our former village manager, who wasn't acting in a legal capacity when he gave that opinion, or Chet, as much as I like the guy, that's not, I don't think we need to rely, if we're gonna ask a question of law, we have to ask our village attorney. And even if it's a 1-minute conversation, I wanna hear what Ross has to say about it. And then I'll about, whatever he says. So,
I don't disagree. I mean, because if I'm wrong, it does change my opinion. Like, but my understanding has been completely that you can't deliberate if you're on Zoom,
well,
cause.
Joe showed his work today. Here, no, that was really important what he contributed. So, I like having Joe on the council, and I don't mind that he's on Zoom. And we've had mostly unanimous votes anyway. We got a little close last week, but I don't see the problem. I don't have a problem with it.
So shall I look into?
Yeah.
I'll get Jim's memo and I'll also give you some more documentation from other sources, including village council, on interpretation as it stands today.
Yeah, and I think things need to be clarified on how often you need to be actually present in the room, because we are the representatives of the people, and it seems to me we ought to set a standard for being present, being able to vote, being able to comment if that's, and just showing that we're here. So I'm concerned, Joe, that you haven't been here as much as I would have liked. But there were years when I missed 2 meetings every winter in a row, February and March. But I don't think I missed others. I mean, it's been pretty.
I didn't think it was a problem, but that was wasn't during COVID too. So
Yeah, it
the
was
rules,
during
the
COVID.
state laws were different during COVID,
Yeah.
completely different. You could vote on Zoom.
Participation, I mean, I would want participation from anybody who's on Zoom. I would want that to be allowed, and if it's not, for some silly reason, I don't know what the thinking
Could be a
behind
state
it
law,
would
it's not.
be. Yeah, it's a state law,
An
that's what I,
interpretation of the Open Meetings Act.
oh my goodness, well. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, well, we'll have Jared get with, the village attorney to find some clarification on participation. It does say in our rules and procedures, the presiding officer can allow anybody to comment during a meeting at his discretion, so. Not to undermine the state rules, but that is also something that's allowed, so allowing a member of the public to speak during the meeting is allowed. Unless it would be whether or not it's a council member, it would be the question, right? That's what we're trying to get to. Anything else on the rules of procedure other than the work session agenda included?
And changing who records
Yes,
when.
yeah, because I mean, the NLTUA, we're meeting every other month,
Right. so it's not-
second
yeah.
Tuesday, so really the reporting would be at the action meeting anyways.
I think it's planning liaison that needs to change to work,
It would
regular
it would be the
meetings.
regular meeting.
Yeah.
And then infrastructure being at the work session and not at the regular meeting is what I would prefer, just because I think that it's adding time that doesn't need to be added with, because there's no necessarily change in the update.
Okay. All right, so we'll get some. Maybe the next meeting, or depending on Ross's,
Yeah.
time back to you, we'll see when that comes back to us at an action meeting. Okay, 2020, next up is 2026 Village Council meeting schedule. Updated schedule for the year going forward, along with some holidays that are recognized by the village.
Don't we have to vote on this?
We do, it's, well,
Well,
we used to
we
vote
can
on
bring
it,
it back for the regular
Yeah.
meeting on the 18th.
we used to vote on it when we adopted the new budget.
Okay.
We used to vote on the meeting schedule, correct?
But
In January,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the.
but now
yes,
everything
usually
changed.
the first meeting in January
Yeah,
was when we would vote on it, but I don't know if that's, it matters if we keep doing it that way. Do we meet again this month? No.
Yes.
we did.
Oh,
Yes.
18th, okay.
But in
And I will not be
January,
present for that meeting.
I have
I'll
the
try to
workshop,
be on Zoom, but I'm not sure I will.
I have the workshop on New Year's Day. No way. I
What's that?
have, my calendar did automatically workshop on New Year's
Yeah,
Day.
yeah, we got it, yep. New Year's Day, gotta be here,
That's
2
not
o'clock.
gonna happen.
All right, so everybody's hopefully had a chance to look at that. And we'll vote on it here in the near future. Okay, does anybody have any comments on that? Just move along. None. Brings us to item 6, which is our second round of public comment. If anybody would like to make a public comment, you may do so after stating your name and residence. And if you're on Zoom and want to unmute, I can recognize you. Okay. Anybody in person? All right, if no public comment, we'll move on from that to our council comment. If any council members would like to make a comment? Looking around? No? Okay. Then that brings us to 3:35. I'd make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All right, thanks, Will. We are adjourned.
Does anybody want to hear the story about when